Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Luna here. I'm happy that you could join the speed build with me today. This is actually a build that I worked on I think a year ago, and I honestly forgot that I had even had it. So I'm happy that I did record it and I was able to find it. This is a yoga studio that was actually inspired by a local yoga studio in my town called Jack's Yoga. It's not an exactly real to Sims, but I was inspired by a lot of their layout and how things work. It is highly different, but also same in the same concept. I wanted to make a yoga studio because I love the aspect of yoga in the game. And if you didn't know, they did do an update a while back where you can be pretty much a travel yoga instructor. You can take the yoga instructor mat and you can do literally anywhere. You can be on the beach, anywhere that you can travel and put your mat down, and then you can actually perform and get people to come in either privately or an open yoga instructor situation and actually get paid for it. So there was a post a while back that we worked on where I was doing kind of like a rags to riches, but also just working as a freelance yoga instructor, and I actually want to restart that and maybe go a different path with it. I did enjoy it. This was also a build that I was working on with a friend who our plan is to redo a lot of the worlds, and so I was trying to make it go in line with a lot of the other buildings, but at the same time I had this mindset of this is kind of like the old town look. So I had an idea in mind that, okay, this is, you know, a new person, a younger generation person that bought this building, and they made it more fresh but still kind of kept the old style of the other buildings. But at the same time, after I looked at the build, I was like, man, I don't normally make just rectangle or square buildings, so I kind of like the shape of it. But after looking at it a year later, I was like, oh, I should have put some of the round aspects on it like some of the other buildings. But then again, the other buildings around it are going to change as well as we go through and edit them. I don't know if I'm still going to do it with my friend or not, but I do still love that idea of going through and changing a lot of the worlds and updating some of the buildings. But to make a proper yoga studio, you have to put it under a gym, but you still have to have gym products. So that's why I took the punching bags and made them smaller, and I actually hide them so it still counts as a gym, but we don't really have a setting as a specific yoga studio. You have to have some type of workout equipment. The yoga mats do not count as yoga equipment, so that's a little bummer, but we have easy ways of making it work, so that's why we made the punching bags a little bit smaller. I made a really wide open yoga space, so that big, the one mat in front is the one that you have to have as a yoga instructor. So then you can go in and instruct, or there will be a person that comes in that will instruct the yoga classes, and then you can join in. And the mats I use, I'll probably go in the build and change the mats, because I think I clicked on the rental mats, and so when you actually play the game, they're not lined up exactly how they are as I built it. And sometimes people bring their own mats, so that's a little glitch, but it is still playable and people are still able to come in and actually join the yoga instruction, whether you're doing it or someone else is doing it. My plan for the outside was to have like a little foyer, because my yoga studio does have one. I didn't think about the weather though. When it's snowing outside, you may want to get rid of the yoga mat, because I had a few deaths outside because when they change clothes, of course, they literally freeze to death. That's what happened. 2 people froze to death in the middle of a yoga instruction, and I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. So if you don't want to have the outside yoga mats during the winter months, you may want to go in and take them out, and I would not advise you to instruct them outside. So the top of the building is kind of what I was talking about. As you can see, the other building next door, they all have like the round aspect to it. And at the time, that was one thing I overlooked. And I'm like, oh, I should have added like the rounded aspect of it, because like all the buildings around it have some type of round edge curve. And I struggled with it a lot, because I was like, oh my god, this is just a rectangle, and I don't normally do rectangles. I haven't done that since like I was a kid. So I still struggle with it, but I honestly love the inside more than anything, which I feel like is perfectly fine. But I was excited to do this, and just trying to pull in you know, the inspiration from my actual yoga studio and then putting it in The Sims. I hope they appreciate it. And I hope they see it. I don't know if they're into The Sims or any type of video games, but I'm going to be very happy to express to them, like, hey, you guys inspired me to, you know, pull my real life into my video gaming. And with it having such a small space, like I said, I didn't do too crazy on the landscaping, but enough to kind of pull in what is going on in the other buildings, especially that outside little foyer area, as the other building next to me has one. So I was like, oh, that's perfect to do outside yoga, especially if you don't specifically want to travel to like other places. You can just go to this yoga studio and you can do a yoga instruction inside or do a yoga instruction outside. So it has the open space inside, the open space outside, and the other side sections there will be like a little foyer to put your jackets, to put your shoes, and then a area for an office space, because every business I feel like does have some form of office space, so you can handle all of those things inside of there. Really not much to really talk about. And sorry, that was my son coming in. I told him I was gonna play Fortnite, but I wanted to get through some of the stuff there. Other than that, like I feel like I kept it pretty basic, and everything is functional. I have played this a couple of times in my save, in my save, and then it is also in the gallery. Welcome for anyone to grab. Another thing that I'm still kind of working on is the platforms. It's been around for a while, but I haven't really done much with the platforming. But I feel like that little window space is something that they have, and I wanted to accent that as well and make it very yoga-esque, very calming, very soothing. And I'm a plant, I can say I'm a plant lover, but IRL, I can't keep plants alive. But in The Sims, I use a lot of plants. I think the greenery just altogether just kind of makes any space that you make very comforting and welcoming. And that's what I really like about the plant aspect of putting plants in the game. It's something that I probably pay more attention to than anything. And I'm using a lot more of the landscaping tools and painting and just giving it a little bit more depth and more feeling of, you know, people have walked here, you know, things have been dug here. And that's one aspect of the game that makes it a little bit more life simulation for me, at least. And my other space, honestly, I really do like the office space a lot. Another thing that I use, there's a sign. I can't remember if it's specifically in debug or if it's just like in the normal game. You can put a sign in there that says no shoes. So when they walk in, the Sims instantly don't have shoes on. Usually you don't wear shoes when you do yoga. It's a little bit more comforting. So that's one aspect of the yoga studio that it's a little thing, but I really did like being able to do that, and just being able to layer these hanging lights really gave the outside-esque relaxation for it. The placement of these mats, I went back and forth with, because I was like, oh my god, how do I want these mats to lay? How do I make sure they're actually in there? Because when you have the instructor mat, the other mats have to be inside that square to make sure that they're actually getting the instruction. If they're outside of that square of the instructor mat, they actually won't partake in and use those mats that are out there. So let me know in the comments what is something that you like to rebuild, whether it's a real The Sims or an idea that, you know, we don't have in The Sims that you added and implemented in your game, and how you made it accessible and actually playable. That's one of the biggest things that I like to do in The Sims, is make it a little bit more, in a sense, real life, but still know that it's still a game. Because I don't do a lot of mods. I still play very, very vanilla. And one thing about me is that I have been playing The Sims for the 22 years, like ever since it came out. But I still like just playing the game how it was made. So I try and make all my builds no CC, no mods, so it's accessible to everyone. Because for a while I was only on Xbox when I was playing The Sims 3. And so there are times that my builds do show up as modded or CC. I don't know why. I believe I've said this in another video before, and I just want you guys to know that when you go look up in my gallery, if you're not seeing something, be sure to click on the include custom content. because for some reason I think sometimes debug items show up as CC, so it makes the entire build modded. So be sure you click on that when you're looking through the gallery so you can make sure you see everything. If there is something that has CC in it, it'll just take that item out. It shouldn't mess up any of the builds. Even if it's like a clutter item, it just won't show that item, or it'll show up as something else. I had that once when I was playing with a friend, and on their game everything showed up as a statue. It was either a cat or a cow, and so I had to delete all of the items when we were playing in a multiplayer mod. And I was like, oh, it's showing up that way because you don't have that item. So it just picked a random item that was in the game and made all those items statues. So even if you get one of my modded or CC builds, it'll just show up as something else or not show up at all. You'll still have access to actually download it. One thing that I do like in this build is that I went through and I got some pictures out of the gallery. They're not CC pictures. They're actually items that if you use a sim that is a painter and an artist, and as they get better, they paint these really nice pictures. And I've never gone through and really pushed for my sims to be a big artist, but I found some relaxation, very cute pictures that'll come up here in a little bit that I put in there. So that's why the build isn't CC. It is actually in the game. They're actually pictures that you can save that your sim actually did paint, and you can put them in the gallery to use for decor. That's something that I think I am going to try and push and do a little bit more, because I want a different variety of pictures in the game. When I hang up pictures on the wall, I'm really good on decor and hanging up pictures on any type of wall. And I'm kind of over the ones that are in the game, and so these give you a different variety of them, and they're really beautiful pictures. Really added to this type of build with the Zen feel and a relaxation, option. As we're doing this, I'm kind of thinking like I could have made a basement and put like a little sauna in there. So there's that idea. If you get this build and you alter anything, if you add a basement or add an upstairs, just comment, that you've changed it, and I would love to see what you've changed. But I also love seeing how you guys use these builds just in its normal state, and let me know what you think of the end product. How do you use it? Are your sims enjoying using it? Is it something that you go to? When you find me in the gallery, I did change my name. It used to be KReese3388. It is now Luna's Galaxy 33. I literally had KReese3388 since I was like 12 when I started playing The Sims. So now that I've kind of have my calling and everything in the community, that I was like, you know what, I'm Luna, so let's finally change my name to be something, and go along with it. So now we're going through and just kind of filling in the little spaces here and there. Like I said, I actually enjoy clutter. I think it brings a little bit more aspect to your build and what you're doing. I know clutter can be very tedious, but I feel like those little itty bitty things that you add to any type of build just makes it a little bit more lifelike, being a life simulation game. I'm so happy that we have the ceiling fans now. I personally don't like ceiling fans, but in the game, I think I utilize them pretty often just to kind of take up that space, because there are a lot of spaces that use ceiling fans. I personally don't like them being tall. I always hit them all the time, and they hold dust a lot, and it drives me insane. I love these planters from the Nifty Knitting. I use them pretty often. Hanging plants is something that I really love, and like I said, plants in general, I use a lot in the game, because just adding that extra little bit of color always makes me smile and makes me feel like it's a very comfortable and welcoming space. That was me kind of looking around. I look around at the other buildings a lot because I was really debating on like, what can I do different to make this kind of mesh in with the environment a little bit more. But like I said, part of me was also thinking, well, I'm gonna end up changing those two buildings as well, so I was trying not to dwell on it too much. Here we're adding a bathroom and kind of like a little shower space. I ended up making two of them because I didn't want to have a random hole there, so then that way the Sims do have a universal unisex room to go into, whether they need to shower, get themselves cleaned up and situated. That's very important to have in any type of gym setting. And the little foyer area here, I do like how I ended up panning out that area. In my original yoga studio, the shoes, we have like the shoe caddy when you first walk in the door. And so I was kind of like, do I want to put it here where I put that little green green wall right there. But then I ended up, you know what, I'm going to use this extra space back here. And they can use those, not really vending machine, but what are they? Refrigerator doors. You can actually get face mask out of there, so they can kind of use it as a spa space too. They can get face mask out of there, they can get snacks out of there. So the yoga studio does offer food, so if your Sims here for a while and they're getting hungry, they can grab food out of there. They can do a mask that actually helps towards their wellness and stuff like that, and they can still take care of their hygiene. So there's a lot of things in this build that when your Sim is here that you can manage and get done all in one setting instead of having to leave or have something in their pocket to make them happy again if they're kind of feeling like, oh, I'm getting tired. There is something to help different aspirations and their wellness in that simple setting of being in this one space. So that's what I like about how I put this all together as well, to help your Sim be able to do a lot of many different things. And I'm telling you, bathrooms, I struggle with bathrooms, not specifically to get them playable, but more so trying to build them. Bathrooms are usually a tiny space, and I wish our camera worked a little bit better so I can usually get into them. I usually end up pushing the first person camera so I can zoom in a little bit better without being blindsided. But luckily, the one bathroom was the perfect size. I just copied the room and just put the room right next to it, and it fit perfectly. So this is a little area where I said that they can go in and get drinks, snacks, face mask out of. This is in my mind where they would hang up their coats, put their shoes, all their belongings while they're getting themselves ready to go into their yoga session. And then this is the little office I have here. Now the office is something that it's not locked to anyone, so anyone can go in there. There's no specific owner of this gym. I don't know if you can have an owner of a gym, because I know you can have an owner of a restaurant or a shopping, retail store. But even if your Sim wants to get on the computer for a second, they can go in there and just get on the computer. I also put down a thing for them to meditate, so you can meditate in the spot and you can do yoga. And you can converse with other people while you're waiting for your next yoga session. So it's kind of like a hangout spot, but also a wellness location that I'm happy that I went ahead and went with and decided to do a yoga studio. I love doing items in The Sims that pertain to real life places. I've done a few retail stores. I haven't specifically done a restaurant. I've redone a restaurant, but I haven't built my own restaurant. But retail is one of the things that I have done and I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite builds still to this day. But I'm looking into doing more actual buildings that a town, a community that would actually have. I definitely want to redo the museums. I don't really take my Sims to the museums a lot because I kind of like, this place is kind of boring. I feel like they're just so spacious but nothing really to do. But that is somewhere down the list on my to-dos. So this is where I'm working on the office space. There's where they can come and meditate. This room, it's an office, but it's still very calming and a place that someone would want to go. These are actually the pictures that I used of some of the pictures that were painted and done, and I was like, well, this is perfect. I think I just typed in yoga studio or yoga pictures, and these beautiful pictures popped up, and they go flawlessly with this build. Like, I absolutely adore them. And I saved those. I'm so happy I was able to find them, and my friend actually was like, hey, you can do this, and I was like, I didn't even think about that. So I'm happy I was able to get that. So let me know in the comments what you think about this build. There will be screenshots of the space. And yeah, I'm happy that you were able to come in and see this build, see how I put it together, and talk with you guys a little bit on it. And I appreciate you guys oh so much. And until next time, this is Luna, Galaxy out.